Perfect, Adeniyi. You ready for this? It's gonna be a mergers and acquisition case, right? In, as you can see, the grocery sector. We're gonna touch upon all the dimensions that are typically assessed in case interviews, right? Namely, analytical problem solving with the structure question, of course, quantitative problem solving with some math to do, and also some conceptual problem solving with two separate questions, one that is about creativity and one that will be about chart reading, right? At the end, we'll kind of go through each of those dimensions, and I'll try to kind of tell you, okay, what you did good and not good, and touched upon some very precise actions you can take to the next level for the next round, right? Okay, so if you're ready for the prompt, I'm gonna start with it. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So here you go. It's quite quick. The client is On-Demand Ventures. On-Demand Ventures, we can call it ODV, and it's an investment fund that focuses on apps and technologies that provide, on-demand services to consumers. The thing is that ODV, they have been approached by a company called Groceries Now. Groceries Now. It's a grocery delivery app that's could be a potential investment for ODV. The senior management of ODV has asked you to answer the question whether they should or not invest in Groceries Now. As simple as that.
Okay. So I'd like to just rehash in case, just so that we're on the same page. So we have this ODV that is a private equity firm, and they're thinking of investing in Grocery Now. And you said that they are into app development. Is that what you said?
Grocery Now?
No, ODV. You said something about app development.
Well, they focus on app and technologies that provide on-demand services to consumers.
Okay. Okay, so I'd like to take moments to structure my ideas on this.
Sure. Can you maybe tell me, to make sure we are on the same page, what's the question that is there to be answered?
Okay, so we want to determine whether or not we should invest in Grocery Now or not.
Okay.
Like what should we consider in order to be able to make that decision?
Yes, that's the problem we are tackling here, indeed.
All right, so I'd like to take a moment to think through it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say that the Grocery Now, the fact that ODV wants to invest in Grocery Now, I would say first, without going deep into it, that it looks like they want to diversify, or they want to go into this area of business, and that kind of industry appears to be driven by volume. It's highly commoditized. I would also like to ask that, do they have, apart from knowing whether or not to invest, do they have other specific objectives on this, apart from that?
So to come back on your 2 points, I'm not sure if I understood the first one when you said that it's a commodity. So Grocery Now is an app, right? That allows to order groceries to be delivered at home, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know it was an app earlier. I thought it was a grocery store or chain.
No, it's an app.
Okay.
That allows delivery at home, right?
Okay.
And second, to answer your question, the objective of ODV then is not really to diversify, because they are specialized in those kind of consumer applications, but it's just to exit with a profit in a couple of years from now, right? Namely in 5 years.
Okay. Then, so the timeline is probably 5 years from now. Then also, does ODV like what's the geographic footprint of ODV, and do they have other apps or app companies like this in their portfolio?
So about the geographies, why are you asking me this question?
Like, I just want to know their experience in things like that.
Okay, to test whether they have experience in that or not. Is that so? In experience in like geography?
No, experience with this kind of groceries. I know they have a couple of other app companies that they've invested in. Do they have any one that is close to grocery now or not?
Well, yeah, you can consider yes, but your question was about geography, right? Okay, so I'm not sure if I see the link actually between that and the experience in the field.
Okay, I'll just delve into what I have now. So I'd like to look at this case under a couple of headings, three particularly. First, the market, then the client, that is ODV, and then the target, which is Grocery Now.
Okay.
So I want to start with the market this way. First of all, I want to look at the different market indices. Like, what are the typical margins, like profitability margins in this market? What's the market size? So, like, what's the market size for Grocery Now? Like, these are the things that ODV should consider. Like, what's the typical margins for this as in market which Grocery Now is operating in? What is the what's the growth rate, potential growth rate there? Then also I want to look at the competitive landscape. Who are Grocery Now's competitors, and what are their market shares, and what are their differentiation points and their perceived advantages or disadvantages? Then I also want to look at still under market, I want to look at the potential, like how does distribution of this service happen typically in that industry? Like, do they put it on app stores for maybe Apple iPhone or Google Apps or things like that? Like, what are the typical modes of distribution there? So then that's that for and also operations, whether there are some operational complexities associated with that industry. So that's that for the market. Then going into our clients, ODV, we can take a look at their capabilities. What are the other companies that they have in their portfolio? What's their portfolio mix like? And what are the potential synergies that they have between any other companies in their portfolio? And is there any similarity with Grocery Now? Mm-hmm. And then after their capabilities, I'd like to look at the cost. So what is it going to cost them to do this acquisition? What is the capital expenditure? And what are the potential rate of return or payback period? So that's that for the client. Then our target, which is Grocery Now, I like to look at their finances. So first of all, what are the typical costs that they have, both the fixed cost and the variable cost, and also their revenue? How do they actually make money? So, like, what are the different revenue streams or product mixes, and what is the pricing? How is their volume like? So those are the ways I'd like to look at this.
Okay, is that so? Okay, thank you for that. If I double click, for example, into your third bucket, which is the target grocery node, and you tell me I want to know what's their typical cost, right? Fixed cost, variable cost. Tell me, based on the market and based on your understanding that you have from that target, What do you think are the main fixed and variable costs?
Okay, I'd like to take a moment to structure this.
Sure, you don't need to take a lot of time, right? Couple of seconds, that's it.
So I would like to look at it under fixed and variable costs. So under fixed costs, I will consider something like rent and utilities, overhead, uh, like one-time kind of logistics, like like R&D, software design. So all the costs that go into there, that's one. Then under variable cost, I would like to look at labor, like talent, staff, and all those kind of things. Then I would like to look at different supplies that have to do with supplies that has to do with units, supplies that are related to units. So those are the things I'd like to look at.
Okay. So variable cost related to unit, what is that?
Like if maybe if they have to pay for maybe they have to pay for maybe bandwidth per maybe gigabytes by megabytes, because I think that they have to get like bandwidth and things like that. So like that's the kind of thing I was looking at.
Yeah, clear. In your opinion, among the different costs that you have listed, right? For example, if I look at the fixed costs, you have tell me rent and utilities, overhead, R&D, software design. If you have to rank them in terms of importance, what would it be? And by importance, I mean, in terms of amount of cost, right?
I would say since this is like an app, they'll be spending so much on software design, because if you look at rent, well, you can accomplish design from anywhere and share your findings or feedback on maybe Slack or anything like that. So I would say maybe the software design cost will be like.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Okay, thank you very much for that. So one of your first buckets, right, of your framework was about the market, right? And since we are doing kind of McKinsey style, I am, gonna ask you the questions and jump from one area to another, right? So you've asked me about the market, you've asked me about market size, growth rate, etc. I think those are interesting points to look at for sure. So I have this data for you. Up, can you see the chart? Wonderful. The question that I have from you is, but based on your structure, on what the problem is and what you have now in front of you, what can you conclude from this? What are the implications of this chart?
Okay, so I'd like to take some seconds to just go look at it. Okay, by just looking at this, I'm seeing that of the major percentages of shoppers in the in 2021 was like the LA was the one that had like the highest in terms of pickup, and that percentage shrinks from LA to Chicago to Houston. But as we go from 2021 to 2022, it is shrinking further for all of them in terms of pickup, and even store delivery appears to also be shrinking, while third-party deliveries appears to be growing from 2021 to 2022, even though in-person appears to be kind of stagnated or the same thing in terms of percentage from 2020 to 2026 in three different locations.
Okay, I agree with kind of the data that you have highlighted there. What does that mean? You are solving an issue, right? What does that mean for the issue you're solving?
Okay, I believe that if maybe Grocery Now, which is an app company, they want to take part of this market size here. So they like this third party delivery, I guess, because I'm thinking Grocery Now has to do with people shopping on their phones, on their apps, and it gets delivered to them. So I'm thinking they want to really focus on that third party delivery, like like a lot of their work has to do with shoppers shopping online. A third company goes to pick up those things and bring it to them. So if that percentage of third party delivery is increasing from 2021 to 2022, that might be a good space to operate in. And this might make sense for ODV to invest in them because that's part of the market is increasing. Then also it looks like, from what I'm saying, because the in-person shoppers are kind of stagnant, so it looks like the third-party deliveries are kind of eating into the percentage of the store delivery shoppers. So it's like there's a potential, maybe that one is going to eventually shrink out and there's an opportunity to take part of that and even more for the pickup, people who are doing pickup, especially in Houston and in Chicago, because that is shrinking significantly as well. So there's a huge potential here for ODV to invest in Grocery Now because there's huge market for what Grocery Now does.
Yes, I kind of agree with you. So this chart basically validates your two sub-hypotheses, which were market size and market growth, right? That's really the real insights of that, right? There is not much else to say. It seems when we see the blue stuff that actually people that like to do in-person shopping are not about to change their mind and their habits, yeah? And that also means that actually then the growth potential in the short/medium run for third-party delivery will kind of plateau at some point, right? Until probably the next generation change, like to kind of get this blue bar chart going down. But okay, that's clear and I agree with that. I have another question for you. You know, you look at that chart, you see basically the market share of different sales channels, right? Those are not market shares of players, but those are market shares of sales channels. And one of those sales channels between third-party delivery, third-party app. The question for you, what do you think are the drivers in the, long, medium, long term, the drivers of the market share of that particular sales channel, which is third-party delivery? What could be the reason why in the future this increases or decreases or stagnates?
Okay. I'd like to take some time to structure my ideas on that.
You can have a couple of seconds, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'd like to think about this under 4 different categories. The first one is price. The second one is value. One moment, please. Okay, then marketing and then strategy. So I would like to start with price. So if it costs like much less to use third-party delivery apps to get your things that you shop for online, I think that probably would let people or will encourage people to patronize that much more. Then also, if maybe the commissions and I believe that there will be some kind of commissions, like maybe if those commissions are also decreased or reduced, then if people are paying less, then I think they will most likely prefer that channel. Then I would like to look at value. So, what other value are the customers going to, or the shoppers, what other value are they going to get apart from just they shop on the app, you bring it to their homes? Is there any increase in value proposition? If there is increase in value, maybe some kind of maybe cash back or things like that, or maybe this kind of shopping is linked to gas. Like if you are a customer of this third party value app, you get some cash back, or you can buy gas at cheaper price, or you can maybe you get the opportunity to shop with this at a discount or things like that. So if there's increase in value proposition, I guess people would prefer to also patronize them, and that market size can also you can eat into that other market size. Then also that's value. Then under marketing, I would like to I would like to consider the fact that if they can increase marketing, like promos, like loyalty cards, rewards, and things like that. If they can increase that, I think shoppers will be more inclined towards things like that, because um, they they are being encouraged to do things like that. Then also in terms of strategy, I would believe that if less people are going to the stores, for instance, that's like a status level for some shoppers. That is some kind of convenience for them, some kind of less and less stress for them to go to the stores. And also, if we can increase public relations around that idea that it's better for you to shop compared to going to the store, so people can kind of have a status associated with patronizing the
Isn't
app.
this going into marketing?
Okay, I guess we could just merge that into marketing then. So I would say maybe like 3 different buckets then.
Okay. If we kind of do a double click on your bucket one, right, which is price, and I agree with you that, if kind of it costs less money to shop online and to get the stuff delivered at home, well, of course, right, the interest in this kind of sales channel is going to increase. I agree with you. You have divided price into cost of service delivery and commission of the delivery app. Okay. What would you see in cost of service delivery? What are the drivers there? Because now what you just told me is that, if costs decrease, we can do it a bit cheaper, and people are gonna be more interested in that. Yes, but what could explain a decrease in costs?
Okay, I'd like to take a moment to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So just so that I get what you're asking, you're saying what are the major drivers of reduction in price for delivery?
No, costs of delivery, right?
Okay, cost of delivery to the customer, to the shopper.
Yeah. Which is the first thing that you had in the price bucket, right?
Okay, so I like to look at it under two different categories. First, focus on the product itself, and then on the services. So one thing that can drive down the cost of delivery to the consumer is under the product. If there is an opportunity for them to shop more or pay less, some kind of bulk purchases, or if they can bundle those purchases with other people, other friends, so that it reduces the need to deliver. And that could reduce the cost that way. Then, um, like, okay, so basically, let's just say I have one bucket for that. So, like, shop more, pay less, bulk purchases, bundling payments, or even if you're trying to like hedge your purchases. Like if I'm supposed to buy something every month, if I could buy maybe 3 months at a time, so like all those things could end up leading to reduction in cost of delivery for the consumers.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you. I have another question for you, and let's do a little bit of math, right? I'm gonna share with you an additional exhibit, which is this one, exhibit 2. Can you see it? That you will kind of be able to use together with exhibit 1. So let's have that view, if you don't mind. Yeah? The question that I have for you is, first of all, how big is the market for third-party grocery deliveries in this area in 2026? First question. And second, what profit, what margin can we expect, right, in 2026 in all those three cities? In addition to the information that you have in front of you, you can assume that Grocery Now will have in 2026 a market share of 25%. Yeah? And that the profit margin in this sector will be 20%, yeah, in 2026.
Okay. Market share. So market share for Grocery Now is going to be 25%.
Yeah.
Then what did you say the profit margin is in 2026?
20.
Okay, 20. Also for Grocery Now?
No. Yeah, for Grocery Now, yeah. Yeah. Both. Right? We don't care because we are looking at the profit of Grocery Now.
Okay. I'd like to take a moment to structure the math.
Sure.
Do we have any information on a typical number of trips that's because I'm seeing average fee plus tip. This is per trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but do we have any data on the number of trips in maybe a year or a week or a day or anything like that?
Well, look at your screen.
Okay. Okay, I have one more question. We are estimating the market size for third-party delivery. Is it in 2026 or now?
2026.
Okay. So I like to think of it this way, and before I do the calculation. So I'm thinking I should calculate the total number of shoppers. Then, because they're going to be the same number right now and even in 2026, then I would calculate the number of, like, I would divide that by 2, which is 2 shoppers per household, and I'll know the number of households that do grocery shopping on this particular app. Then after doing that, I'll multiply that by the percentage of third-party delivery, like the percentage that's 20 in the total of all the average fees. Is that a good way to go about it, would you say?
Yeah, it sounds good, yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to start with that.
Please be very vocal with me, right?
Okay, so I'm thinking that we have a total number of shoppers, 37 million. Okay, so if we have 37 million shoppers and we have two shoppers per household, then if I divide that 37 million by 2, I should get the number of households.
Are you sure of that?
Yeah, so I have 37 million shoppers.
Yeah, but like that amount, it's for 3 cities, right?
Yes. I thought you wanted me to do the calculation for the 3 cities.
Yes, I do. However, the penetration of online shopping is not the same for each city, right, in 2026?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Do you see that?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
I'd like to make an assumption based on what we have in Exhibit 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my plan first is to look at the total number of shoppers, whether they are doing third-party pickup, store delivery, or like any of those. So if I'm looking at that and I'm looking at the penetration rate, can we safely assume that only a percentage of that will be doing shopping in 2026?
So I'm not sure I understand. So you know from Exhibit 2 that in Los Angeles, for example, you will have 15 million shoppers, right? From Exhibit 1, you know that 25% of them will do third-party delivery.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Isn't that enough to proceed?
Okay. I get what you're saying. Okay. I understand it now.
Good.
So from there, based on the combination of the two data points, I'm getting that about a quarter of those number of shoppers in LA will be doing third-party delivery. that brings me to 3.75 million.
Yeah.
Then for Chicago, 35%, I'm just approximating to about a third of that. So I'm thinking 3.3 million for Chicago. For Houston, a quarter of that number. So that brings me to 3 million. So in total, I'm looking at 10.1 million in the total number of shoppers for the three cities.
Yeah. And without doing the calculation, now that you know that, what are the next steps in your calculations without doing them?
Yeah, so I'm thinking that if I know the total number of shoppers and I know the number of shoppers per household, then I can know the number of households. And because the first assumption is that the grocery is purchased one times in a particular household. So I can multiply whatever I get there by one times. Then I can also. So is this data? Is it like yearly? Is it for a whole year?
It's written on your screen. It's weekly. So basically, you will multiply that by 52.
Yeah, by 52. Then I can now multiply that average, multiply that by the average fee per tip. Average fee.
And if you do all of that, you will get that your expected profit in those three cities is a bit more than $250 million per year, right?
Okay.
A bit more than $250 million per year. So based on all of that, how would you summarize everything you've learned, right, to the CEO of the client?
Looking at the opportunities that appear to come from this business, like about 250 million is available for capture, and the fact that there are other opportunities for growth, to not just only for those who are currently doing third-party delivery, but also maybe a change in perception that can cause even in-person people to patronize these third-party apps. I would say that ODV should consider, or most likely should go ahead with this acquisition of Grocery Now, and but they should also consider risks associated with changing tastes, because we don't really know what's going to happen in 2026 or beyond. People can decide to say, okay, for one reason or the other, we are not doing third-party deliveries any longer. So if they can find a way to mitigate those risks, and also they should consider things about maybe over-exaggerated revenues or underestimated costs in that area. So for the next step, I would like us to look at the risk mitigation steps that we can do to look at those areas that I mentioned.
Okay. Thank you, Adeniyi. That basically closes the case. No, so first of all, thanks a lot for your efforts. I know it's not easy, right? I think that, I don't know what you think, but I think your performance, there were, kind of some issues here and there and so on, right? I think you can do much better. I think it was kind of a decent performance, right? I was happy about the way that you brainstormed. I think your structure, even though it was quite generic, maybe a bit too much, you touched upon all the points. And I was also happy to see that, it was easy for you to know the computations that you needed to do, right? However, I could really see that you were missing some reflexes, right? And some kind of drills that you need to have in order to avoid the typical pitfalls that you will have in those kind of interviews, right? You get me? So if we take a little bit, from A to Z, right? What we discussed there. Wait, first of all, there was the case recap, and so there I think the big issue is that you didn't highlight the business problem, right? And that's something that you always want to do to make sure that we are on the same page and we are solving for the same problem, which was okay. the question to be answered, as in shall we or not acquire that company, right? And I think it was funny because then you didn't ask any clarifying question. However, you asked some clarifying question within your structure. So after taking the 1 minute break, you asked me a couple of clarifying questions. That's something that you should do before, because obviously the answers to those clarifying questions, and the most important of them was, okay, what's their target? Do they want to sell in 5-6 years? That's gonna basically, impact some of the buckets that you have in your analytical thinking, right? In your structure question, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so that's something you should have done before. Then in terms of structure, right, that was your framework, yeah? So, okay, typical like market, client, target, that's relatively fine to me. If I look there at the scoring, I think that you identified, the main driver of the issue. There was very limited overlap or double count, so that was good. I think the key issues that were in your structure is that it was not really much prioritized, right? So for example, when you tell me about the costs, you should really try by putting yourself in the shoes of the CEO of the client, and say, okay, what are the typical costs of such company? Because when you tell me rent, utilities, overheads, right, it's clear that for those kind of companies, the big costs are the development costs, right? That's the key stuff there. And so you should be much more prioritize, and also then much more actionable. And by actionable is that you mean that, those low level drivers that you have there, it should be really easy to ask questions to them, data requests in order to answer the question, in order to validate or disprove the hypothesis, right?
Okay.
That's, I think, to bring your structure to the next level. So make it really like prioritize the most important drivers, the most important points first, and also to try to really tailor it a little bit to the case. The cost of developers, because what you've told me there, those are really much buzzwords, right? That's a structure that you learn by heart. That's a mergers and acquisition structure. Try to kind of use words that are linked to the industry, linked to the clients. Yeah. So for that, I've given you between level 1 and 3, I'd say. Yeah. So that's for the analytical thinking. Then you have the chart reading question. And there, with the chart reading, you actually spotted the key insights of this chart, which was that third-party delivery is increasing, and that was pretty much the only insights you have from that chart, right? So it's not a complicated chart. The problem that you did is that you didn't synthesize, right, what that meant for the client. You just told me, okay, delivery is increasing, but what does that mean? Because your hypothesis was, I want to be in a market that is growing. So yes, okay, this check mark is done. That part of the analysis is done. Now let's move on to something else, right? And you should always proactively do that effort to say, okay, that's what it means for the client. Now we can move on to that. Yeah? That's why I cannot give you like a level 2 or 3 there. That was for the chart reading. Yeah? Then for the creativity question, which was the question about, okay, what are the drivers of the acceptance, the penetration of the delivery with app? Well, you kind of identified a couple of drivers, and then you did a small brainstorm within each of those drivers. And that was very good, by the way. And I think that's a very nice way of actually coming up with a lot of ideas. The problem is that I think that your ideas were very generic, right? And when you tell me, okay, the penetration of that will increase if prices decrease, and prices decrease if the cost of delivery decreases. Yeah, okay, but that doesn't mean anything, right? You need to come up with really like concrete ideas, drivers of what can in the future be the case. For example, fuel costs, right? For example, promotion of governments to promote those apps, which happens in a lot of countries, right? And that's where you kind of bring flavor ideas, flavor brainstorming, meaningful brainstorming to the discussion. And that's where the interviewer will be like, okay, that guy really comes up with really relevant stuff, yeah? And not buzzwords only. Okay?
Okay.
And then the last thing was about the quantitative thinking. And therefore, the quantitative thinking, I feel that you were going to do well because you actually started by conceptualizing the question and being very clear on what's the computation you will do prior to run the numbers. And that was super good, actually. The problem is that, in your computation, you told me, okay, I'm going to do that. And that's what you need to do, but you needed to do it on like city basis. You couldn't do that for the whole market because the market share is not the same in all cities, right? And so yeah, that was a bit the problem there. And I don't know if that's something you didn't saw before or you didn't understand, but that was a little bit the problem. And then because we were, lacking a bit of time, I had to kind of solve it for you. But in any case there, what you did, as in conceptualize the question first and then running the numbers, is a very good reflexes, and I encourage you to do it upfront. Last point was the recommendation. Yeah, okay, how would you summarize that to the CEO? And there you actually finished your explanation by telling me, okay, ODV should consider the acquisition, right? That's actually something that you should start with. Yeah, that's called CEO-oriented communication. You start with the answer. You start with the answer to the question you've been hired to answer, and then you elaborate and you say why you have that answer. Right?
Okay.
Okay, so that was quick feedback, but I think we are a little bit in a hurry, so that was it. Thanks a lot for your time, Adeniyi.